Here near McGregor, Manitoba, Daryl Wiebe put together a rink and warming shack, mostly with stuff on hand on his farm, for his family, neighbors, and anyone else that might not be able to get all the way to town.
So I just wanted something available for that kind of stuff and for the community to have something close by instead of having to maybe pay ice times or stuff like that.
Against a prairie sunset, game on.
99% of it is showing up, so once you're there, and the stories unfold, the people are comfortable because we're talking hockey, we're enjoying the game.
Just a stick, a puck, and a clear shot. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, near McGregor, Manitoba.
For anyone who loves to skate, that push and glide can make you feel on top of the world. A new rink in Montreal underlines that feeling. CBC's Jay Turnbull reports.
For me, it doesn't get much more Canadian than this. Cold day in Montreal, you chuck on the toque, your gloves, grab a puck, stick and skates, off you go to the local rink. Today, I'm going to show you my skills on top of what must be one of the highest rinks in the country. Let's take a look.
It's up there, way up there, 7 stories above the street, a rink with a view like no other. And probably the cutest little Zamboni you've ever seen. Cameraman Dave couldn't get enough. The ice is high. The talent level? Not always. But I'm pretty sure we know why the fans are here. I'm a bit of a crowd pleaser. I guess they call me Tutu now. Whatever, it's fine. I might not be the most talented player, but I'm known to get pucks in deep, give 110%, and my intensity level is off the charts.
Let's go! Dang it! Is that goal regulation size or what?
The altitude must be affecting my game. The architects of this building wanted to try something new to attract companies to rent office space and thought it could optimize the roof.
To offer something else than just the usual weightlifting, yoga, training, jogging, all of that. So let's offer something else where, it's basketball court in the summer. You can play deck hockey, basketball. You can actually play tennis.
Anyone can pay to rent the ice here. Workers renting office space can play in an intramural hockey league during the day.
It's amazing condition. You have a view on the Mont-Royal, amazing skate rink.
Yeah, it's paradise. So I guess I come here every day to skate, and then this morning I did a yoga class. It creates synergy inside our teams.
The developers feel this is the wave of the future, that offering services like this rink and a gym, yoga and boxing classes, plus a terrace with the occasional DJ, will become more popular to attract people back to office buildings. I can't say I'm not jealous, but now it's my time to shine high above the streets of the city. Jay Turnbull, CBC News, Montreal.
Hello and welcome to a special edition of CBC Manitoba. I'm Marjorie Dowhouse, the host of Radio Noon. We're looking back at some of the memorable stories that reflected our province over the past year. Our reporters and camera people traveled across the province to every corner, from Island Lake to the Interlake, Virden to Winnipeg. Thank you to the Manitobans who invited us to learn more about their stories, and thank you to you who tuned in on our various platforms. Here now are the uplifting, enlightening, and educational stories that reflected Manitoba this year.
We're gonna go fishing!
My name is Jack Harper. I'm from Garden Hill. I'm the cultural exploration teacher at the high school. It's an outdoor event, activities that I do. When you see 4 walls in the classroom, you don't see anything out there. So this is a good place to get them to do a hands-on learning.
I like being outside. I just like watching them fish. But I never really went to fishing.
who's checked the net? Okay, you gotta take it out.
Yeah.
Grab the eye.
I don't want to grab the eye.
Yeah, grab the eye.
I'm scared.
I want them to carry on. Like me, I was taught to do things like this from my father, my late father. So I have to continue on. These are the things that I want them to continue on. And I know they'll remember it.
What if it bites me?
If you put your hand in the mouth, they'll bite you.
Oh, you! Oh. Gross. Grabbing the fish out of the net. He's so slimy. That claw thingy.
Over there at the back. See that back?
It's a sharp thing. You go like that.
They go home and I learned this over there. I'm pretty sure they're gonna tell their parents. Almost there. Like I like to continue on with what I was taught. Can you imagine when you fish with
I
your
felt like
hands,
the
use
fish is
that
gonna
tool
bite me.
What about for you, Jared? What did you think that was like to get the fish out of the net?
Was
it heavy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really heavy.
Have you done that before?
No. And then you kiss the fish. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Oh, good luck. Just kidding.
This thing made of bannock. It's called a fish bannock.
Caviar.
Caviar hotel.
Fish eggs.
What's the word for fish in your language?
Gnose. 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 That's how you take the bone out. Sometimes older people boil this, boil that head to eat it. Not me yet. And then fried, I need it.
You have to know what you're doing. I know what I'm doing by doing it, not watching it. You have to do it yourself.
Maybe the busiest place in town on a Saturday night.
I'm just here to enjoy and hoping for the best.
The championship of Steinbach's only basketball league.
If they're going to beat us on anything, it's the little things. It's the boxing.
This was a basketball league made for Filipinos by Filipinos. But over time, they noticed how many other ballers in the Steinbach area had no competitive place to play. So this past winter, they opened up their league to everyone.
The Filipinos, ever since we moved here, we've been welcomed with open arms by people who are from here locally. And we want to, give back to that. We don't want to be exclusive. We want to be inclusive, right?
Alex Thiessen wanted to play for a while.
I've asked, countless times for from different teams.
He says it's all thanks to the growing number of Filipinos moving to Steinbach. There's 1,500 Filipinos in a city of nearly 18,000 people.
There's almost no chance that there would be men's league at all if it wasn't for that.
So now that the league has opened up to non-Filipinos, Thiessen's wife can cheer on her husband.
As a Filipino, I always wanted to see other other culture as well, other colors to play basketball. And in Southeast, they're always big on basketball as well.
Non-Filipino players used to drive into Winnipeg to play in leagues, but now they don't have to. This Steinbach league brings in the crowds.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, they're packing gyms. This is crazy. It's been huge for Steinbach basketball.
Raymond Kelly is playing basketball again because of this league.
I'm going to be playing against a lot of guys that I grew up playing against, and I think it's great for men, that are, once they transition out of high school, to stay active and to stay involved in the community.
Commissioner Abram Razan only sees the sport growing from here. For the first time, they'll have a spring league and a division for women.
You can never have too much basketball.
He's already training for the spring.
Sadly, Filipinos, we could use a little bit of height, so we lost in the quarterfinals. But we'll be joining the spring league again with the same team. We'll be running it back, and hopefully we could get some more wins and go deeper into the playoffs.
For Filipinos and non-Filipinos alike, this league has proven to be a slam dunk. Ian Fraze, CBC News, Steinbach, Manitoba.
Verdun is home to 2 shooting ranges, including this one just outside town run by the Fort LaBosse Wildlife Association. Ryan Schellenberg spends a lot of time practicing here. He's a firearms instructor and a competitive shooter.
We practice at least once a week, most cases, sometimes even more coming up to a major event.
The outdoor range is located right next to Wolverine Supplies. Former RCMP officer Matt Hipwell's parents started the business after they immigrated from England to Verdun in 1982 to farm.
This is everything from those involved in sports shooting to various competitive shooting disciplines to long-range shooting, the hunter, the outdoorsman.
Schellenberg had the range to himself and shot a rifle, but he competes using handguns. Federal regulations implemented last year banned the purchase, sale, or transfer of handguns within Canada. Schellenberg says it doesn't affect him because he has the equipment he needs, but he says others are impacted.
Where it really hinders is those new to the sport, those coming in, people that want to hand down their stuff to their restricted firearms to their children, get their wives and kids into the shooting sport.
There is an exemption for elite shooters training for Olympic disciplines. The measures are part of the federal government's gun control legislation, Bill C-21, which, despite revisions last spring after much opposition, still aren't sitting well with some firearms advocates, including Hipwell. He says it unfairly targets people who buy guns legally.
It's prohibited us from importing certain products, which means we can't sell to the recreational customer.
His shop still carries semi-automatic weapons like this one, which is capable of firing 5 rounds without reloading, the maximum allowed in Canada for this kind of gun. It's weapons like this some gun control advocates want banned in Canada, and Heidi Rathjen with the group Poly Remember says the government's legislation doesn't go far enough.
It is missing a big piece, and that is a ban on assault weapons.
Hipwell says the gun is a tool used for varmint and predator control and recreational shooting.
This rifle was designed and built to conform with the firearms laws in Canada.
He doesn't think there's any legislation that will make everyone happy. Hipwell just hopes for clear, concise rules that protect the public and the interests of people who purchase guns legally. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Verdun.
Brandon's recently opened Section 6 Brewing is mixing history with modern-day architecture. The taproom's exterior walls and even the bar are constructed from bricks recovered from the International Harvester building, which was torn down in 2021. It also used restored barnwood for its building.
It was important to us to make the most of what was available to us, and we love the idea that there's a lot of new pieces to hear, but there's a lot of tradition and old parts to hear. And
Section 6 is putting extra bricks left over from the build to good use, allowing patrons to get hands-on with the history of the building.
We've taken something old, we've used old things to help us do the building up, and I believe it was 11,000 bricks that were reclaimed, all had to be cleaned and chipped down and provided to Stiles Masonry so that they could rebuild it as well as our bar.
The reused bricks helped with construction costs, while keeping the memory of the iconic International Harvester building alive.
How do we remember our past, but at the same time embrace the present and look forward to the future? But I think something like those bricks are a concrete reminder and kind of prompt a bit of interest in thinking about the past.
The name of the brewery honors Brandon's rural roots. The term section refers to how agricultural land is divvied up in Manitoba. Section 6 also draws from the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and the idea that Canadians always have the right to return home. Chelsea Kemp, CBC News, Brandon.
So 298 Charles Street was one of the boarding homes that our family purchased when they came to Canada from the USA.
Judy Williams' family moved to Winnipeg in 1905.
They knew there were jobs at Eaton's, they heard, and the new Cadillac house was being built. They knew there were jobs on the railroad, and so they thought they'd settle in Winnipeg. They did have some money.
The family opened 2 boarding homes in the North End, and they offered Black people a place to stay in Winnipeg at a time when they weren't allowed at hotels. Many of the boarders were railway porters, like her grandfather, Ernest Brown. He was an exalted leader of the Elks and had ties to one of Canada's first unions.
Very often you see them parading kind of like you would see the Shriners Parade.
They had the fez.
They had the purple fez, yes. He was known to be a really good cook, and he'd cook up a storm for the boarders who lived here as well.
These are some of the albums that my mother carefully put together.
Photos from Williams' family albums are on display at the Manitoba Museum for Black History Month. Many of them were taken by her grandmother, Beatrice Brown.
The Railway Porters Band Picnic.
The pictures give us a view of Winnipeg's early Black history, something Williams wishes was more widely known.
We've been here for a long time, and so when you ask us where we're born, it can be offensive. It's because a lot of us were born here.
And not only from here, but key to building the Winnipeg of today.
Exactly.
And you're here right by my side. Williams is well known for organizing Jerry Fest in honor of her late brother, Jerry Atwell. But her family's been a big part of the community for well over a century.
They had some money that had come through the family in the form of diamonds. And kind of a bittersweet story. My great-great-great-grandmother was an enslaved woman, and her name was known to us as Black Beauty. Her enslaver loved her, and he freed her 3 children a couple of years before emancipation and gave them some diamonds, and they went off on their own at 12, 13, and 14 to the northern states. They worked in servitude positions until they made it to Canada.
Those diamonds bought the family's boarding homes in Winnipeg. That's where Williams' mother grew up and made her own mark on history.
She went to University of Manitoba and graduated with a degree in pharmacy in 1948. 29 male students, 5 women were in her class, and she's known as the first Black person to graduate from the University of Manitoba in pharmacy.
Her mom met Judy's dad, George Atwell, at the boarding house.
He came to Canada from Trinidad. He was told to stay at the Browns boarding house. They were a good family. My mom always describes it as someone tall, dark, and handsome showing up at the door of her place.
A lot of Black students stayed with the Browns since university residences were white only.
Must not have been easy. I bet there were some challenges.
I know there would have been challenges for my mother. When it came time for her apprenticeship, she couldn't find one. But my grandmother, her mother Beatrice, because she had the connection with the church, and she was able to get a placement for my mother at the St. Boswell Hospital. So that worked out really well. The same kind of thing happened to my father when it came to his work practicum when he was finishing education. He ended up finding a position in a small little town that doesn't even exist anymore called Reedy Creek. He ended up at a one-room schoolhouse he taught at. He loved it. It was his favorite job of all times.
Her father was also a lieutenant commander at HCMS Chippewa, one of its highest-ranking Black reservists.
And that difficulty of finding an apprenticeship or a practicum, is that because of the race barrier? Because they were Black?
Definitely it was. It was at the time. Seeing my parents in the role of teacher, in the role of pharmacist, was life-changing for some people. Like seeing the pharmacist that serves you at the counter, that asks you questions about yourself, and then fills your prescription, and then also having a teacher that you can identify with, for sure. It's very important.
Thanks so much for sharing
You're
your
welcome.
story, Judy.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
It's a frigid February morning, and it's no warmer inside this home than out.
Oh, no power. We see how everything has frosted up now. We haven't been home.
It's one of the first times Daryl Sinclair has been back to his Peguis home since it flooded 9 months ago.
You miss everything. You want to be with friends and neighbors, and you want your family here. You're lost. That's how we feel. We're lost. We want to get back home and come back to Peguis and be home again.
Looking around, it's as if time has stood still, but Mother Nature hasn't. The walls, windows, and doors are frozen.
A little frosty.
Standing inside, the memories are flooding back.
The water had come to this height. We were able to see our first step, but everything was underwater.
It's dark. You can barely see right in front of you, but you don't need to see. You can hear what's below.
It filled up so fast, we lost everything. All our personal pictures, kids' clothes, everything. Wow.
Water is still seeping in. Mold has taken over. Like dozens of others, his house will be torn down and rebuilt. But he doesn't know when or where. It's been a battle, but it's not the only one he's been fighting.
Cancer on top of worrying about my home and family.
Yeah.
It's really bad. All I did was pray. I prayed and prayed and prayed. I had people praying for me that we'd be all okay, and we're still here.
He's been undergoing chemotherapy for months. Today, there is good news. He's in remission.
The biggest fight is done. Huh?
Now he can focus on getting healthy and getting a new home, because that fight continues.
Homes now have to be rebuilt at higher levels. It means adding elevation to the ground while also keeping a few feet of extra space empty underneath the first floor just in case. It's a process that has to happen to all of these previously flooded homes and so many others.
Well, assessments are still being done. William Sutherland says it's likely they'll need to do that to hundreds of homes.
Planning for worst case scenarios as well, knowing work with it, any dike work that's done could be jeopardized at some future time, so we still have to build up to the 1 in 200 year flood level, which is what our goal is on Peguis, right?
While Peguis is the largest First Nation in Manitoba, Sutherland says it's also the most flood prone. But that wasn't always the case. In the early 1900s, the people of Peguis were forced from their original land close to Selkirk when that city started booming. The land was forcibly surrendered, and the community was relocated to this basin, where floods are inevitable. Now they are left to find the solutions as well, which Sutherland and many others are hoping are more permanent.
That's the ultimate goal that I have, is to one day hear that announcement that although Peguis flooded, there has been no reports of damages and there's no need for evacuations.
But those plans will take years, leaving hundreds of evacuees still waiting. Brittany Greenslade, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Almost like throwing a match, that's Parks Canada setting fire on purpose. A controlled burn to protect Manitoba's Riding Mountain National Park from uncontrollable wildfires.
I think that most people don't realize just how beautiful natural prairies are.
Melanie Robinson is an assistant fire management officer.
So this entire field here would have been all black.
This is that same field 5 months later.
As you can actually see how this was a fire. So we have, some of the burnt stuff that's still there.
Nature rebounding, rebalancing. Here, new grasses and plants are taking hold.
That's one of the biggest benefits of fire, is you get to have some of those increases in biodiversity.
That helps decrease wildfire risk.
And what we're not seeing is a bunch of thatch or dead grass or
yeah.
fuels that would, over time, accumulate.
So we burned all that off, and then that provided nutrients for all of these other plants to be able to flush out and grow.
Robinson was frontline during this summer's record fire season, helping coordinate the fight against the wood buffalo fire.
It burned really hot with a lot of intensity, and it burned really deep within the soil.
But once it was out, she saw the same regenerative forces.
It didn't look like there was a lot of potential even for things to regrow. I returned, and the whole place was full of fireweed.
Very similar to this prescribed fire 4 years ago, burning high in the canopy, leaving this forest stand blackened, but not lifeless.
We're seeing all this aspen regen that has come up since the prescribed fire.
Changed landscape and habitat.
There's all kinds of little holes in there that would have been caused by insects and that. And the woodpeckers come and get their grubs.
We're really seeing the regeneration of the natural landscape here.
Yeah, and seeing that a landscape can actually thrive and recover and be resilient to fires.
Nature will find its way, but amid so much devastation this summer, those regenerative forces will take decades to restore those millions of hectares left scorched and scarred. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Riding Mountain National Park.
Social issue stories were some of the topics that were most talked about on our website, social media, and on our broadcast programs. From the rising number of overdose deaths to the need for social programs, affordable housing, and homelessness. Here are some of the stories that CBC Manitoba did on these pressing issues.
We're with the St. Boniface Street Links outreach team, getting a deeper understanding of homelessness and substance use in Winnipeg. The first stop, this hotel.
Good morning.
They're checking on StreetLinks clients. Michelle Wesley is part of the team.
So we're signing in.
StreetLinks has 16 rooms reserved for people to stay. The outreach workers find out what people need, whether it's a ride to an addictions medicine clinic, housing, even filling out forms for ID.
Good morning. I was going into encampments, meeting with people, building trusts. Started realizing that housing was really something that we needed to focus on here. So that was something for the last year and a half I can actually say that I've been really focusing on, is building trusts and getting people housed. Hi Charles, how are you this morning? I have CBC News following me today, and they're outside the door here right now.
It's here we meet Monica Davidson. She wants to talk.
Can I talk to the news people?
Davidson has been at the hotel since January.
This is Monica.
Hey there. How are you? I'm not doing very good today.
No.
I've had better days.
At one time, she says she was sleeping in a tent in a park. She tells us she was introduced to fentanyl 3 years ago.
I beg you, do not ever try that drug, because all it's going to do is it can turn everything that you have in your life that's good into something bad and ugly.
We have, a good handfuls of people that are addicted to fentanyl. And, we've had a few that, unfortunately, we've lost.
Davidson describes a life before the drug.
I took my daughter to hockey. I played with my son all day. I cleaned my house. I just did regular things that a normal single parent would do.
She says her children are doing well and living with her ex-husband. Wesley has taken Davidson to one of Winnipeg's 2 rapid access to addictions medicine clinics, known as RAM clinics. The walk-in clinics operate on a first-come, first-served basis. Davidson says she's waited in line to get in.
When we go there, they make us stand outside, and you have to be there early enough to be the first one in line, or else the chances of you being seen by a doctor are slim to none. But the last time I was ready to walk away, and if Michelle hadn't grabbed me, should I leave the forceful part out?
It's never forceful. With lots of love and hugs, though.
Yeah. It was done from a good place.
Officials say Winnipeg RAM clinics fill up fast, and people are turned away. They're not open on the weekends. Wesley says the limited hours they're open is a barrier.
I'm pretty stubborn when it comes to RAM clinic.
I don't like to leave without getting my client in, because that's life or death to me, right? And I care about each and every one of them. And it's really hard when I can't get them in, and I see the pain and how they're losing hope. That's really hard for me, especially as a recovering addict, is to watch somebody slowly slip away and start to lose that hope, right? When I'm there trying to build them up.
The outreach workers meet people in bus shelters and camps. No one is here, but they leave harm reduction kits just in case.
Some clean needles, along with clean water.
We meet Claudemir Biggity at the StreetLinks office. He's here to bring by a piece of his art and pick up mail.
What do you think led to you being homeless?
Giving up, just giving up.
Biggity credits StreetLinks for helping him get into the home he's in now. He still visits friends and lets them know if they need ID, income supports, or housing, there's organizations to help.
I owe it to myself. I owe it to myself to let these guys know that, I was in your shoes, and you could put better ones on,
He says addiction has played a role in his homelessness over the years. Marion Willis is the executive director of StreetLinks. She says there's a drug crisis that's not being acknowledged to the extent it should be.
We agree that there's lots of people deep in addiction. We agree that we have a high overdose rate, and we talk about harm reduction and all of that. The biggest and first and most critical aspect of any harm reduction plan is going to be to acknowledge that you actually have a crisis, right? And then change the dial and the conversation to focus on that crisis and get all the right people at the table to think about what you need to do about that crisis. And it can't be the same old people at the table.
Part of what she wants to see, more community-based recovery programs that support people long-term. Wesley agrees.
And not having to battle all the time. It's like jumping hoops to get into a recovery center.
You heard Wesley talk about RAM clinics. Well, Shared Health says there are plans to expand hours at one Winnipeg location, and another RAM clinic is set to open in the city in the Aboriginal Health and Wellness Center at the end of May. Alana Cole, CBC News, Winnipeg.
It's all taped up all over in there.
This is what Lisa Palmer has to do to keep cockroaches and bedbugs out of her apartment. The 36-year-old mother of four says there are gaps under all the baseboards and cupboards where insects squeeze in.
There's bugs that get in through here.
She's been forced to get creative to try to keep them out.
Sometimes I take Play-Doh or cotton and stuff it in the creases, because I don't know what to do anymore. Just from closing it over the years and everything like that, it started to wither away.
On top of that, she's been waiting years for Manitoba Housing to replace the door to her daughter's bedroom. There are no covers on her electrical outlets, which Palmer fears is a fire hazard, and there is mold in her bathroom.
But I just give up asking because nothing's getting done. Nothing's getting fixed.
It's broken into almost every day.
Things are no different up the street at 444 Kennedy. Ted Chartrand says mail is stolen almost daily, forcing tenants to have theirs sent to a post office instead. There's graffiti on just about every wall. Chartrand says as soon as it's painted over, more appears later that day. He says the stairwells aren't safe and smell like urine because people sneak into the building to sleep there. He's so fed up, he wants to move.
It's just not a place to be living. I can't even believe they're even renting the place. This place should be shut down.
Things are so bad at this building that Manitoba Housing has stopped placing people here. A spokesperson for the department says they've taken steps to address issues at 444 Kennedy, including hiring a 24-hour security guard and evicting tenants engaged in criminal behavior. Between April 2022 and early January 2023, there were more than 23,000 calls to Manitoba Housing about maintenance or service. That's an average of 81 calls per day. The tenants we spoke to said often those calls go unanswered.
My bedroom is right here, eh?
Patrick Murdoch's bedroom window has been broken for years after a rock flew off a construction truck and smashed through it. He says he called Manitoba Housing a number of times, but no one came to fix it.
We have to basically just put the tape on it, as you can see, right here, right? Yeah. Like that, right? I did do that myself.
Since 2015, the provincial government slashed the amount of money set aside to modernize and improve Manitoba housing units. It went from $120 million to just $37 million last year. And since 2016, only 800 new affordable housing units have been built. Less than half are designed to be affordable for the lowest income people. Kirsten Burness says the lack of affordable housing means people end up in difficult situations.
People need housing immediately, so we are often looking then to the private sector to find immediate housing, and it's super challenging because a lot of the folks who are on low income rely on our provincial employment and income assistance as their main source of income, and the benefit levels they receive to pay for rent are not high enough to afford rent in the private market.
There are currently more than 5,000 people on a wait list to get into Manitoba housing and 2,000 vacant suites, 75% of which need repairs or renovations before being rented out. Manitoba Housing says people on the waiting list are placed based on needs, with priority given to those escaping gender-based violence or experiencing homelessness.
That was originally a storage room.
Savannah Heward lives in a 3-bedroom apartment with her husband and 4 kids. There isn't enough space, so she's cobbled together 2 makeshift bedrooms in the storage area, while on a list for a bigger place for the past 2 years.
They just keep telling me that I'm approved and they're just waiting for a property manager to call me.
My room / supposed to be living room.
Lisa Palmer knows what it's like to make do. She and her 2 youngest children sleep in the living room because she gave the 2 bedrooms to her teenage daughters. There's an empty 3-bedroom suite on her floor, but it's been boarded up for years because Manitoba Housing hasn't sent anyone to fix it.
I rely on Manitoba Housing. I mean, this is all I got at the end of the day, and I couldn't afford a place on my own. After paying for daycare, paying for school fees, paying for food, groceries, I don't even know how some people are making it, to be honest, I really don't.
While she's grateful to have a place to live, she's hoping one day Manitoba Housing will be able to meet the needs of her growing family, because without them, she'd have nowhere else to go. Caroline Bargood, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Bill Pajak built this shelter on the bank of Winnipeg's Omens Creek.
It took me about 4 days to build it. I just started scavenging materials and putting them together.
He used wooden pallets for frames and cardboard for insulation.
And I put these supports in. I just kept putting them in until they got solid.
Since he can't have a heater inside, this winter he plans to rig up a hot water radiator connected to a heater planted in a sandbox outside. He chose this spot beside Empress Street in a busy shopping area because he says it feels safer than downtown.
There's a lack of good shelter space in Winnipeg. The shelters are all overcrowded and people with addictions issues are everywhere in the core, which makes it very, very hard.
Pajak lost his job as a truck driver last year. Since then, he's suffered health problems which have kept him from working. Pajak has been looking for housing, but finding a place that will accept him with his dog Gabby has been difficult.
I've had her since 8 weeks old. I'm a type 1 diabetic. Before they had the sensors and stuff, she used to indicate when my blood sugar was low.
Despite his challenges, Pajak says he's receiving support from people in the area. Some of that support has come from Daniel McIntyre councillor Cindy Gilroy.
Jill is a prime example of somebody who could probably be easily housed if we had affordable housing.
He has also gotten regular visits from Winnipeg fire paramedics.
I discussed a little my heating system with them and they're hesitant at best, but we'll see how that goes. They said they'd get back to me.
Manitoba Housing says it gives priority to people who are homeless, and having a pet is not a factor in determining wait times.
What I need is housing, but if I can't find housing, I need to build a heating system before winter.
Winter is only a few weeks away. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
I was very excited to be recognized because I put 4 years of my life on a bowling 5-pin.
Makes me very happy to know that he's going to be in there for all the time so everyone else can see what a great player he was in his generation.
He's from Thompson, Manitoba. He's just one solid, steady performer.
DiVirgilio, he said yes when the ball was halfway down the lane.
I watched him do a roll-off once where he threw 18 strikes in a row over 2 games. I remember it to this day how incredible it was just to see that. Very rare. When he was at the top of his game, he was, like I said, arguably the best in Canada for a period.
And it's on the head pin again.
DiVirgilio had an amazing percentage of strikes for hits in this series. I was rated #1 across the country because I entered a lot of tournaments I was winning. So there was a point system, which I was the #1.
He's been around, knows how to win, and he's very dedicated to the game.
I've been bowling 2-3 times a month. I went nationally. Every province I went more than once, 5 times probably.
He was a Masters champion in Winnipeg in 1979.
When I first watched him play, and the game was a different game back then, it was more of a accuracy, like slower shots would work when the pins were free fall as opposed to strings, and he was just so deadly accurate, like he didn't seem to ever miss.
And yes.
We've had a ton of great players up in northern Manitoba as I grew up, and he was probably the best of the best that we had here.
Last ball in the 10th for Nick DiVirgilio.
So he's won multiple national championships representing Manitoba and northern Manitoba.
Nick DiVirgilio, the national champion.
Right now, I'm 78 years old. It's pretty tough to bowl 1 game or 3 games because my knee's not 100%. But I enjoy doing it. I try it, but I can do it. So I gave it up. And I'm kind of sorry for that, but that's life. And I would try to help the kids, whoever wants teaching, they want assistance. I'll spend time to teach them.
Anything he tells me, I try to use in my game because he's been through all of that before. What would Nick do in this position? I've definitely thought about that a few times. I can't express how much he means to me for my game and everything he's done for me here as a proprietor and as a friend, and it's been my honor just to know the man and get to compete and play with him as well.
Thanks, Nick.
I'm at Fort Richmond Collegiate in Winnipeg for the unveiling of their new esports center. Now, I know what you're thinking. Video games? That's school? Well, apparently there's much more to it. So let's find out.
I can do this! I can do this! Anime versus living person. We could.
Esports center in a school? There must be more to it. Why did you want to open one?
Well, #1, first and foremost, opportunities for kids. I mean, esports is huge. There's so many of our kids that go home, they play video games. And so to actually be a part of a team in a school, I think just makes sense. To me, an esports facility is the equivalent of having a gym in a school. And I'm hoping that one day it becomes the norm. I struggled with that one at first because I thought, oh my God, more screen time for our kids? Like that's the last thing they need. But these are things that these kids have strong skills in this area. And to me, having an esports kid in a school with no outlet to showcase their skills is the equivalent of having a high-level sports player in a high school also not being able to showcase those skills.
Do you play video games, John?
No, I don't.
Oh, wow. Person who supports it. I guess it is for the kids then,
It is
right?
for the kids.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's good to know.
definitely.
This is where I thrive.
Feeling like you're a part of something, does this do it for them?
I think it does. Yeah, we had a number of students who, we had the door open here while we're putting this together and they'd poke their head in. And one of the things that I loved hearing from students was that they would say, I can't believe the school supports esports. Almost like it's unbelievable to think that a school would even consider this as something that we could have here.
I'm trying, okay, I'm trying.
And why wouldn't we embrace that and work with the students and make it part of school, make it part of something that makes them want to be at school?
Ready? Go!
Tell me a little bit about the game here.
This is Smash Bros. It's a fighting game. Unlike other fighting games, you can play with multiple players at the same time. It's chaotic. I love it.
It almost makes you lose track of time because you're having so much fun and it's just such a good space to spend quality time with people.
You gotta stop doing that, my guy.
It almost builds a community, being able to just have somewhere to go, like during your lunch hour or something. It's either makes or breaks friendships, I find.
What is the technique here? What do you do to beat everyone? Like your friend over here, Solus.
We're not friends anymore.
You did it. So what's the secret of being good?
Smash the buttons really fast and really hard. Anyone can play it, honestly. Like, you just hit buttons and you have a good time.
Okay, what are the buttons again?
X and Y are for jumping. A is just your regular punching. B is your special attack. And this little joystick you can use to also attack with high damage.
Okay, high damage attacks.
Ready, go!
No! No! Good game, that was good. Thanks for having me, this is great. I had a lot of fun. I will be back to attack all of you. So, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much for coming.
I'm still bitter, though. I'm still bitter.
Oh, there's a little bit.
I'm bitter.
Always next time.
It sounds like the average curling bonspiel, but take a closer look, and you might see some differences. All of these curlers are visually impaired. Winnipeg is hosting the 50th Western Canadian Blind Curling Championships at the Charleswood Curling Club in West Winnipeg. 7 teams from across the western provinces are vying for a spot at nationals.
And we learn from each other, and it's just really good fellowship time.
All right there, right there.
Miriam Hesselbart plays lead. Her coach uses a broom and pressure to help guide which direction she needs to push her rock.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of training, and it's just repeat, and you just try your best.
Manitoba has 2 teams competing at the championships this year. All players here have varying abilities and varying levels of sight, which means different accommodations have to be made in order to play the game. Hasselbart uses touch, but other curlers like Natalie Morin, the president of the Western Blind Curling Association, use bright light.
We've got the different lights on the brooms. So someone like myself, I can see it down at the far end, much sharper than a broom head. Then of course our totally blind folks, some of them are guided out by sound, by tapping. Some just maybe like their guide to stand in front of them and maybe do like a count.
Norman Lyons skips one of the Manitoba teams. He's also president of the Manitoba Blind Sports Association. He says the sport has grown over the years, with this year's championship having players ranging in age from 18 to senior.
It's good to see that they're out and that they're doing curling.
Even if that means competing against the other Manitoba team.
It can be a little bit of a challenge because you don't want to lose, but you want to win too. You both want to win, and it's kind of hard to sort of.
A fun game,
Way to go, Dave! Are you all right?
despite the odd fall or heavy stone. Riley Lechuk, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Retired Army Sergeant Lana Taylor only learned how to swim 4 months ago. Now the 48-year-old is headed to Germany to represent Canada in 3 swimming events at the Invictus Games. She is one of 31 athletes who will represent Team Canada in Dusseldorf.
I am at this point very excited to go. A few days ago, very nervous to go. It just changes every single day, but it's an amazing opportunity. I have always wanted to learn to swim, and I've always been afraid to swim. And with the Invictus groups, they encourage you to take on something new for your recovery. And I didn't think there was anything that could be better or more than conquering my fear of that and having the confidence of doing something that I couldn't before.
Do you love the pool now?
I do. I am going to keep swimming. I really love it.
Taylor's career in the armed forces spans 3 decades. The Winnipegger first started serving in her teens and retired when she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, or MS, 7 years ago.
I was pretty shocked at the time because I, at that point, felt invincible, thought I could do anything forever, didn't think there'd be a limit on my physical abilities. But after learning what I could do, and I learned that, you know, with exercise you can improve things, with nutrition you can improve things. So over the last 3-4 years especially, I've been working a lot on adjusting as much as I can adjust within my control to make the MS as manageable as possible. It was a big challenge, and it's something I was very scared of, and something that at 48, and with MS and other injuries that I have to deal with, I was able to take on, learn, conquer, and my kids are there to see.
The Invictus Games was founded by Prince Harry, who is a military veteran himself. The purpose of the Games is to give current military and retired, injured, and ill servicemen and women a path forward in rehabilitation. Taylor says the Games mean so much to those who have served their country.
You go from being a soldier and capable, confident, do anything they ask you to do, you do it, to realizing that your health has impacted that. You can no longer do that. And then in many cases, you're released from the military because they need fit people, understandable. The Games has given an opportunity so that you have a task again, and your task is your sport. And then they bring in the team, and you do your training camps, and you have your team again. There is nothing more powerful in the world than going from not doing something to being able to do something, and having the support of the people around you who understand, because we are all on the same path.
The Invictus Games take place in Dusseldorf, Germany from September 9th to the 16th. Marjorie Dowhouse, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Each year, roughly 8,000 diseased elm trees come down in the city of Winnipeg. But now, trees marked with this infamous orange dot of death have found new life right here.
One day we noticed that our beautiful canopy was taken down. There's about 10 trees taken down, and I remember me and Carly were sitting on our porch thinking, what a shame that these are all going to landfill. And that was kind of the first seed to get us thinking about recycling these elms into a sustainable product.
Winnipeg, I believe, is the last stronghold for urban elms. I think we have the highest population of them in all of North America. One of our goals is to divert as many as we can from the landfill.
So tell me about this particular piece of elm and what's about to happen to it.
Yeah, so this tree came in last week from the Weston area in Winnipeg. And we're about to slice it up. And this piece here, we're gonna slice into probably 1 inch and 2 inch thick boards. We work under a strict guideline of a time limit on how long it takes us to bring a tree in to have it processed, and that can be either kiln dried or the bark removed. The kiln drying process makes it a totally safe product to use without any risk of disease spread.
Because of Dutch elm disease, elm hasn't been available on the market for a really long time. It's a really good quality wood. It's been used for a very long time prior to Dutch elm disease for furniture making. Lots of interior applications, the same way you'd use oak. We're having to reintroduce that. So it's a lot of re-education to people, showing them that you can use elm in the same ways that you've used all these other species.
We've come across all sorts of different companies that have traditionally used hardwood species that have been imported from elsewhere that are now switching to using locally sourced elm.
So all these big slabs here, what happens to them now? Where do they usually end up?
All sorts of applications for them. A lot of people buy them for their homes. Bar tops, tabletops, coffee tables. We also wholesale them to McMahon and Yates, so they're going to be available in a lot of different locations.
Everything from a yoga block manufacturer to children's toys to your everyday DIYer building tabletops or shelves. It's definitely something that's taking off across North America because people are realizing it's a natural resource. Your urban trees are still a natural resource that can be reused into products.
So I love this little display you have here because it tells you a little bit about where the wood comes from. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
We track all of our trees from where they are cut down all the way through the process so that at the end, with the finished product, we can tell you exactly where that tree came from. So they're all marked with the neighborhoods that it came out of.
East Quay, South Osborne, Wolseley, St. Boniface, St. Vital.
We can only exist in recycled trees as long as people see the value in elm wood and purchase and incorporate elm wood into their homes and businesses.
We just encounter a lot of people that feel the same way that we do about our trees in our urban canopy and are just overjoyed that these trees are getting a second life.
And when all is said and done, that once doomed elm ends up here, where it very well may end up in the exact same neighborhood it came from, but this time as a bar top or even a coffee table. Corey Funk, CBC News, Winnipeg.
These were just some of the stories that reflected Manitoba this year. Thank you again to those of you that shared your experiences with us, and we look forward to sharing more of them in the new year. I'm Marjorie Dowhouse. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm glad it worked out.
Katharina Vermette had to sign a few books today, hundreds and hundreds of them. It's a good problem for an author to have. The Métis Winnipeg writer who grew up in the North End is most famous for a series of novels that began with The Break. The series kicks off with a violent act set in this Manitoba hydro corridor. But violence is just one facet of Vermette's fiction.
This book, I was articulating it as I want to write about trauma without being traumatic.
This book is The Circle, which comes out on Tuesday. It's the third and final chapter in a series that began with The Break in 2016 and continued with The Strangers in 2021. All three books chronicle the resilience of several generations of Winnipeg families. The stories are told first person by a handful of those characters.
My concern is that one character and their view of the world, and through that one character you know about their likes and their dislikes and their history and their everything and their impression of the world, and that it's a very singular way into a world.
The writing is deceptively simple, even if the subject matter is complex. Vermette manages to make intergenerational trauma understandable.
To make that feel simple when it's not, it's just a mark of skill, really.
David Robertson is a friend of Vermette and a celebrated Winnipeg author in his own right.
She took this complex family, these complex cast of characters in a really complex situation, and she made it something that anybody can read and enter into that world.
Even though the prose is easy to read, Vermette says she knows not everyone finds it easy.
Some people just don't want to read the heavy stuff, and they're like, oh, you're too heavy for me, lighten up, be a joke. That comes from all over. But also there's other people who feel seen. That's always my most precious compliment.
Although The Circle is billed as a conclusion to the Stranger trilogy, Vermette won't rule out revisiting some of the characters. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
This restaurant started off as a pop-up, and now it's in one of Winnipeg's most legendary venues. Let's find out what's inside. Hey man!
How are you?
I'm good. It's good to see this place.
You like it, eh?
It's coming together. It really does look, like your Tito's basement, huh?
Well, that's kind of a feel we're going for, 1980s, early 90s. This shell lamp's been in, it was at my mom's house actually, since like the 80s. This bad boy's Carabao horn, so this is water buffalo in the Philippines, right? We're not gonna eat them because we need them to plow, right?
Yes, we do.
That's why there's so much spam and canned foods and canned meats. This is an offshoot of our tiki bar, so more food oriented, less drinks. We do have a really strong Filipino base in the city, but you see all these Filipinos in all these restaurants every day, but you don't really see a restaurant or like a space like this, for the community. So that's a big reason why we're doing it. You want to do it for the community, show like people outside of a community as well, a little bit of the culture, as you can see by the decor, right? Yeah. And the menu too.
Can we reduce this actually? Why is it important to share this food with everyone?
Well, I think it's important because, first of all, I'm Filipino. I'm trying to explore the Filipino cuisine as well. I'm just trying to pay respect to my lolas, my grandmas, my grandparents. Yeah.
Bahay Kubo means like bamboo stilt nipa hut in Tagalog and Filipino. But the food is not just Filipino food, so we're pulling from all the countries that have that type of house. So Southeast Asia, South Pacific, Philippines. Heavy Philippine influence, but we're not relegated to just Filipino food.
This is the pickled shallots. This is the barbecue glaze that we're gonna glaze it with. When I went to school, it's like most of the stuff that we've learned was like French. And I was looking at it, the way it was plated. I'm like, why can't Filipino cuisine be like this as well, presented like this?
We have such a big demographic of Filipinos, and I think it's really nice that we're showing our food to everybody that's might not have tried Filipino food. So I think it's a great touch to the area.
Food is easily the best way to connect different cultures together. I think it's everything that a Filipino wants to represent with our culture, our people.
We're gonna dip it in the gremolata. So that's the toasted breadcrumbs with lemon zest, some pickled shallots. So your sweet, your sour, and then some green onions on top. Wanna give it a try?
Okay. Wow. That's good.
It has miso mayo, pickled shallots.
Go straight in. Cheers. Cheers. Wow. Oh my god. The char. But the fat is good. It just melts.
Even our staff, we have people, kids that are like in different parts of the Philippines, and now they're excited because they want to revisit that. And that's crazy to me. Like when I was working in kitchens, it's French, Mediterranean, it's like not our own food, but now the kids have a safe space to work and be creative and stuff like that, and I like that. And then, so in terms of legacy, maybe that's it, right? You get the younger generation learning about the culture, the food.
Let the good times roll. I'm 84.
Made it.
It's nice to sometimes meet our friends, and that's probably the best thing.
Yay.
If you're looking for an activity to do, why is bowling such a good thing, to try out?
Oh, bowling, anybody can do it. That's the best reason bowling is fun for everyone, from 80 to 8.
I just turned 80. I'm here to bowl. I love bowling. I get my exercise. I socialize, get a few laughs. I just love it. To me, it's fun.
In 5 pins, you get 3 balls, and you can score higher. So a perfect game in 10 pins is 300, and 5 pins is 450. Well, it's a little bit competitive, so you get to have the bragging rights when you bring in your friends of who's the best bowler, and it's a whole lot of fun.
Well, what's the secret to bowling? How do you get a strike?
Pray. Try to get it down the middle. It's not like 10 pin. 10 pin has a big curve, and 5 pin you want to just throw it just down the middle as best you can.
Could you show me?
I can show you some tips. Sure, absolutely.
I would love some tips. All right.
All right. When you put it in your hand, you want to be able to put your finger behind it. Don't palm it. Just put your hand and just put your finger there, not too far back. Now we're set to line up. So, what you normally want to do is take 3 steps.
Okay.
So you want to start with your left foot. You're right-handed, obviously. Left foot. You're gonna go left foot, and throw.
Okay, so left foot, right foot, left foot, and throw.
Yeah.
Gutter ball.
That was all arm swing now on. You came inside your body, so you got to keep your arms straight.
Okay.
And what you want to do with this arm, because it's usually at angles, you want to put it out for balance.
Okay, can you show me what you mean?
So when you're going, you want to be like this when you're
finishing.
So you get a little bit more balance, so your shoulders aren't falling back and forth.
I see. Keep yourself level.
Gunner ball.
Oh my goodness, not again.
There you go, that's better.
Better.
Good, nice and smooth. That's what you want, right? It's all about timing. There you are.
Better. It's getting there.
Well, it's a hard game, so don't think you're going to hit the middle every time. You're saying 10 pin. 10 pin's easy.
Yeah.
5 pin, hard.
It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. I really like it. Well, I think people should come out and give it a whirl if they're looking for something fun to do.
Absolutely. Just give us a call.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Always get you to school, no matter what. Welcome. 18 downtown. Welcome. Are you heading back to school? Absolutely. Gotta get you back to school, girls. I'm Joseph Earl Fulmer. It's always a bumpity bump this section, folks. Hold your seats. I drive transit operator for Winnipeg Transit, City of Winnipeg. I'd get a gallon of root beer, a half gallon of ice cream, and I would float down the road, folks. Oh yes, A&W, best root beer, always.
When I first see him pulling up, I say, oh, I got him this time. It makes the ride more enjoyable. It makes you smile.
Happiness is infectious.
Just a happy spirit. Yeah, it just changes the atmosphere when you get on the bus.
Welcome, good afternoon. First of all, I always remember I'm just the journey to their destination, and creating a positive environment in that journey always comes back to me more than tenfold easily. Welcome, sir, good afternoon.
I know that voice.
Yes, and I know you. I always think first, anyone I haven't met, a stranger, no, they're a friend I just haven't met yet. By just acknowledging, smiling, acknowledging, making eye contact, folks, changes the world. And suddenly you have power and influence and a friend.
Usually when you have a bad day, he makes you really happy. Like, it changes like a snap.
I love this area of Main Street, folks. It's alive, it's real, it's always in your face. There's always hope. I always choose consciously a choice to pull the joy forward, because we can all choose negatives that we could be hanging on, but it's pulling the joy forward always. You're good, sir? Ah, love is in the air, everyone and everywhere. The love bus, it always happens, folks. Connections made every day. You need to go home to your family, to your loved ones, get to work, visit a friend. I get you there safe and sound. As all bus drivers do, we get you there, folks. Number one, remember that.
He's just one amazing guy. You just see him coming in every day, and it's always like a highlight of my day.
The best gig, the best fun, safety always. I could run till I'm 80, folks, easily. We have the call for Dufferin and Maine, but it's about public service, paycheck and then pension if I live that long. So it's safe, fun, and on the run. Watch your step, always at that rear door, please. I have the greatest empathy, sympathy of all my passengers, whatever state they're in. It's my obligation duty to get them again to their destination. Old Market Square, the Exchange District. For me, it brings joy. Somebody who may not have ever smiled to anybody suddenly says, thank you, have a good day back. Yes, a great bus, wonderful passengers. Thank you. I could be your hero if only for one ride. I'll see you ahead in my headlights, and I'll always stop right by your side.
This is a proud moment for you. You have such a big event happening. People get to learn about the various cultures that make up, Black History Month. Tell me, what does that feel like?
It's just great to make the students of Churchill
understand and learn more, because they know already, but to like understand and like celebrate it and not just know about it like in quiet.
We kind of came together back in January, and they decided we wanted to do something in honor of Black History Month. So with a lot of planning and lunch hours and after schools, we came up with a few activities that we have done throughout the month, including an assembly and then a big festival for today. But it took a lot of work, a lot of time, and but well worth it.
This is the hair section. So here they can learn like just black hair and like just like the different types of like religions that are tied to the hair. For example, when slavery was a thing, like a major thing, we used to braid like coordinations to like how to escape through our cornrows and whatnot. And like dreads in Jamaica, that's where my family's from. It's like a religion of Rastafarian, and it comes from the Bible and whatnot. So like it's hair plays a big role of like strength and power that we come from. Music is just part of our history. It kind of uplifts us, and that's like what got us through some tough times. And it's just ingrained in like our systems. Here we have some very good artists that made significant impacts on the music industry. And as you can see, you could like scan the codes and whatnot, and you get the playlist of like Jamaica, Nigerian, Eritrean, all those.
We're here at a special table, right? Because I understand Mom's here.
Hey, my name is Donna Taylor. I'm the president for the Afro-Caribbean Association Manitoba. I'm so proud of him and the group of students that came together to put this all together.
This is bisap or sobolo sorrel, and it's basically hibiscus flowers that we mix. We just boil in hot water, and you can mix it with like orange, pineapple, or like how we call that, mangoes. But I put this time I put pineapple in them and just mix it with sugar.
Okay. What does it taste like?
To be honest, it tastes like a lemonade, kind of like a different flavor that you haven't had before.
It's a traditional bread from Eritrea and Ethiopia. And this is kind of like just something that you would use to scoop some lentils. It's called lentils, and it's called ades in Tigrinya.
Oh, it's good.
That's great.
Did you make this?
One of my friends did.
So what's the flavor?
Good.
It's got some spice.
It's really spicy and it's really good. And it's mild, so it's not too spicy.
That's mild?
That's mild. That's mild.
You know, I like it when you kick it up a bunch.
Yeah, this is mild. It can go way spicier than this.
No, okay, now it's burning.
Yeah, it's getting there.
I think in order to grow and move forward, that you need to understand where we've come from and how far we've come and the mistakes we've made in the past and how we can learn from that and move forward. So making that a part of our regular conversations in our classrooms, at events like this, I think that is one of the most important pieces we can give to our students, is the knowledge of the past and then how we can improve and get better.
I'm so glad that they took the initiative to bring their idea to highlight Black History Month at Churchill High School, and I hope that it does continue once they leave.
So thanks for having me, everyone.
Thank you for coming.
I'm at Fort Richmond Collegiate in Winnipeg for the unveiling of their new esports center. Now, I know what you're thinking. Video games? That's school? Well, apparently there's much more to it. So let's find out.
I can do this! I can do this! Anime versus living person. We could.
Esports center in a school? There must be more to it. Why did you want to open one?
Well, number one, first and foremost, opportunities for kids. I mean, esports is huge. There's so many of our kids that go home, they play video games. And so to actually be a part of a team in a school, I think just makes sense. To me, an esports facility is the equivalent of having a gym in a school. And I'm hoping that one day it becomes the norm. I struggled with that one at first because I thought, oh my God, more screen time for our kids? Like that's the last thing they need. But these are things that these kids have strong skills in this area. And to me, having an esports kid in a school with no outlet to showcase their skills is the equivalent of having a high-level sports player in a high school also not being able to showcase those skills.
Do you play video games, John?
Oh, I don't.
Oh, wow. Person who supports it. I guess it is for the kids then,
It is
right?
for the kids.
Okay,
yeah,
that's good to know.
definitely.
This is where I thrive. Feeling like you're a part of something, does this do it for them?
I think it does. Yeah, we had a number of students who, we had the door open here while we're putting this together, and they'd poke their head in. And one of the things that I loved hearing from students was that they would say, I can't believe the school supports esports. Almost like it's unbelievable to think that a school would even consider this as something we could have here.
I'm trying, okay, I'm trying.
And why wouldn't we embrace that and work with the students and make it part of school, make it part of something that makes them want to be at school?
Ready, go! Tell me a little bit about the game here.
This is Smash Bros. It's a fighting game. Unlike other fighting games, you can play with multiple players at the same time. It's chaotic. I love it.
It almost like makes you lose track of time because like you're having so much fun and like it's just such a good space to like spend quality time with people.
You gotta stop doing that, my guy.
It almost builds a community, being able to just have somewhere to go like during your lunch hour or something. It's either makes or breaks friendships, I find.
What is the technique here? What do you do to beat everyone? Like your friend over here, Solus.
We're not friends anymore.
You did it. So what's the secret of being good?
Smash the buttons really fast and really hard. Anyone can play it, honestly. Like you just hit buttons and you have a good time.
Okay, what are the buttons again?
X and Y are for jumping. A is just your regular punching. B is your special attack. And this little joystick you can use to also attack with high damage.
Okay, high damage attacks.
Ready, go!
No! No!
Good game, that was good.
Thanks for having me. This is great. I had a lot of fun. I will be back to attack all of you. So, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much for coming.
I'm
Yeah.
still bitter, though. I'm still bitter.
Oh, there's always
Bitter. I'm bitter.
There's always next time.
I'm in St. Boniface to climb one of the only ice towers in Canada. Look at that monstrosity. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, awesome. Jim?
Kyle?
Yeah,
Nice to meet you, man.
me too.
Okay, so where are we?
We are at the Club d'Escalade de Saint-Boniface, and this is our ice tower. We are a chapter of the Alpine Club of Canada.
Can you take me through some of the tools?
We've got ice tools here.
Okay.
We've got some crampons here.
What are crampons?
These will attach to the bottom of your boots. You will kick into the ice, and these will hold your feet. You'll have to wear a helmet for sure. Oh, you will be attached what's known as top rope. So
Okay.
the rope will run from your harness to the top of the tower and then down to me. So I will be your lifeline of safety.
How addicted are you?
Very addicted. I like to climb several times a week.
Oh, Kyle, how difficult is this gonna be for a guy like me?
It's gonna be a physical adventure for you. It's gonna be tough. As long as you have some tenacity, I think you're gonna do well.
Okay, I think we should just get started.
Let's do that. This is just like a universal harness. So we're gonna put on your boots now. Time for crampons.
I think we're ready to go here. Let's do this.
So when you swing, you want to have a loose grip and you want the tool to do the work. So then I'm gonna go kick, kick. So I'll take my lower tool, like that. And then it's the same thing, butt out.
Yeah.
Kick, kick, stand.
Okay.
That's the sequence the whole way up. Okay, I got you on belay, Jim.
Copy.
Climb on.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
Spend some time getting good foot placements.
Whew. This is humbling.
But it's fun.
It's very fun.
Yeah, get some good feet. That's a great spot to get some good feet. Right up against the wall, pelvis in, shoulders out a bit.
Kyle, this is a challenge.
It's definitely tiring.
It's very tiring.
Woo! Almost there, bud. Oh my God. You got it, man. Oh man. Oh Well, now you gotta climb with one tool. That's gonna be an interesting one.
My boot's coming off again.
Can you get it back in?
Yep.
There we go. Come on, you're so close, man. You're so close. When you can touch the chain, you're done. Can you see the chains?
Yep.
That's the end.
Done.
Right on. Woo! There you go.
Woo! Woo! With one act, buddy. I will say, that is one of the hardest things I've done in a long time, man. Thank you for that push, man.
No problem.
I'm glad you wanted me to do it.
Man, right on. Give me a high five. That's awesome, man. Okay.
Hi, my name is Emma.
Emma, okay, this is the quietest indoor recess. I feel like you're being good just for me, but what do you normally do for indoor recess?
We usually, sometimes we would watch a movie, or most of the time we play card games.
Are you playing, Marcella? Yeah. Yellow.
Okay.
No, we have to flip the card.
My name is Given.
And what do you like doing for indoor recess?
I just like to chill on the couch and watch the movie.
Marcus could do Lego.
You like staying inside for indoor recess. Why is that?
Because it was too cold outside, that would make me sick.
Who here is kind of sad that they're not going outside? Oh, I see someone right here. Okay, 2 people. Okay, I'm gonna ask you first.
Raiden Duque Bobiles.
Raiden, okay. You're sad that you're not going outside for recess. Why is that?
Because I don't get to play soccer.
Soccer? You play soccer in the snow?
Yeah.
My name is Carlo Talay. I'm the grade 5-6 Filipino bilingual teacher here at Artery Wright. Usually what they do is they have a table here playing Uno. We have some students. I usually put on a movie in Criterion on Demand for kids who just want to chill in the couch there. Some people read a book. Just having options for them. For example, like if they like art, just let them color if they want to. If they like to watch movies, just let them watch movies. Board games are fun because it teaches them how to collaborate with each other. And also teaches them the skill of competition. It's not always about winning.
You do a movement break. Could you show me what a movement break looks like? Do you mind the temperature?
No, not really.
Even when it's like minus 25?
No,
Why is that?
because I'm Canadian.
Well, Lisa has this thing she always says to Brad before he competes. So
Every time he's competed since he was young, I always give him a hug and tell him to come back pretty.
My name's Brad Katona. I'm now a UFC fighter, the first 2-time winner of the Ultimate Fighter. In the moment, you're just reacting and you're going, and I wasn't aware that it was, call it, that exciting of a fight until afterwards. I was like, oh man, people really like this. That's nice. And then I watched it the next morning and I was like, you know what? That was an entertaining fight. I'll tip my hat to that.
Oh man, I was nervous, definitely nervous. I needed a couple of beers before even the fight started, but I don't know, deep down I had a feeling that, with his preparation and everything else, that it was going to go his way.
So I would say the first time I did the Ultimate Fighter, I was like, man, that was really cool, but I never want to do it again. But this time was certainly more difficult. The entire time it's on your mind, I needed to win every single fight. And not only win, but make it to that fight. Let's say I got sick and I couldn't compete, or I got injured. That was probably going to be my last shot at fighting in the UFC.
As a parent, just the stress is on you knowing that he's going to go in a cage with another person and basically fight for his life. It's difficult.
Maybe this is a little cliche, but I remind myself that I really have nothing to lose. Yeah, maybe it was my dream on the line, but really the stuff that matters. Like, I know my parents are going to love me no matter what. Like, they're going to be there. If I fail, they don't really care. They care because I care about it. But really, at the end of the day, it's not like they're going to be like, okay, we're done with you, you know? Like, well, it was pretty much, hey parents. I know we spent the past 4 or 5 years getting a degree in mechanical engineering, and I have an engineering job, but I think I'm going to quit that job, move to Ireland, become a full-time fighter. So that, imagine, like, okay, that can go one of two ways with your parents. They can go, absolutely not, you got to focus on your career, or it can go, hey, this is your dream, go out and try to make the most of it.
Well, the most important thing was education first. You know, get your education so you have something to fall back on. But you always have to chase that dream because you don't want to live in the what ifs later on. You know, I should have done this, you know.
I'm just happy Brad was able to try and follow his dream. I know how hard the road was for him the last little while since COVID hit. And as parents, we're just happy to support him, win or lose. He's still Brad. He's never Superman in our house. He's only Brad.
An international group of scientists has gathered in Winnipeg for the very first time in its more than 50-year history. Dr. Craig Willis of the University of Winnipeg's Bat Lab was influential in getting the group here, which led me to wonder, Bat Lab? Winnipeg has a Bat Lab?
My head swirled with thoughts of Alfred the butler and hidden high-tech gadgets. Alas, it looks like a normal office. Willis says real bat crusaders, the researchers at this conference, work outside wearing headlamps instead of capes.
There's people here from all over the world, lots of folks from the US, many from Mexico, Central America, Southeast Asia. We've got folks from Australia, so all over the place.
What is it about bats you find so fascinating?
They're incredible animals, above and beyond the fact that they are very, very diverse. Their biology and their morphology are really fascinating. Their public image is not good. There are many animals who have a very bad image. Sharks, snakes, spiders, scorpions, bats. None of those do more for your everyday well-being than bats.
What do bats do that help humans?
They do lots of things. There's 3 major benefits that we receive every day of our lives. Every day, you yourself felt them today. Number 1, pest control. They control the pests of many agricultural products. Number 2, seed dispersal. This is in the tropics mostly. Bats are the most important seed dispersers of tropical rainforest, and we've demonstrated it many, many times. And number 3, they're amazing pollinators. Among other things, I am a Mexican, so think of me as the defender of tequila. Tequila comes to us via bats, because bats are the main pollinators of agaves, which is the source plant for tequila.
Okay, so bats are good, but there's bad news.
Manitoba's bats sadly are in real trouble, actually. We have 6 bat species in Manitoba, and 3 of them have just been recommended for endangered status. Another 2 have already been listed as endangered, so that's kind of the highest level of threat for any kind of wildlife species out there. They're in real trouble.
Why?
There are a couple of issues. We have 3 species that hibernate and spend the winter here. They've gone into hibernation already, and a disease called white nose syndrome, this fungal disease, really messes with them during hibernation and causes them to starve to death. So across North America, we've lost millions of animals over the last 15 years. Our other 3 species fly south for the winter, and as they're flying south, they seem to be attracted to wind turbines. Industrial wind energy is important for fighting climate change, but is a real threat to bats in North America, and hundreds of thousands of animals are killed every year. Bats mostly like to fly on lower wind nights, and most of the mortality only happens during August and September, during the fall migration. So if we could turn off the turbines on lower wind nights when they're not generating much energy, and only at night, during that 2-month period, we'd be almost all the way there to solving the problem.
Willis says it's doable if the companies involved open their bat ears and listen.
5 generations honoring their matriarch, Simone Carrière. She just turned 107, making her one of the oldest people in Canada.
The whole family is willing to visit me, so that was nice.
Her son, Ghislain Carrière, says his mother was a longtime volunteer at St. Boniface Cathedral, and in her later years, she visited seniors younger than her because she didn't want them to be lonely.
You know, she'll say, well, how come everybody says hi to me? Well, I said, everybody knows you, Mom, and you're always saying hi back.
She and her husband ran Carrière Grocery, where La Belle Baguette is today. Carrière grew up on a farm, the daughter of French immigrants. She lived through both world wars and survived Spanish flu as a baby. Her daughter, Josiane Carrière-Kahn, says her mother has a knack for bouncing back from challenges.
She loves to walk, and she swam until she was 99 years old. So she's only been in a nursing home for 3 years, so that's not bad.
Not bad at all for 107. Emily Brass, CBC News, Winnipeg. Families flock to the Forks in the spring, but they're not the only ones coming to visit.
What do you like about geese?
They're so cute.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying, yeah.
Really? You had close encounters?
Yeah. Just don't mess with them and just let them do their own thing, and then you're good.
Canada geese can ruffle some feathers. One pair at the Forks got a bit close for comfort, building a nest in a planter. Crews cleared out that nest yesterday and their eggs. Dean Denisick was sorry to see them go.
We're in a park. If they're on the grass, great. On the sidewalks, well, step around it.
Destroying the nests of migratory birds when they have eggs is illegal unless you have a permit.
In a written statement, the Forks North Portage Partnership says any work we do on site with respect to geese is always under permit. It says we work with licensed companies to ensure we balance the protection of the public with the safety of the goose population.
There's a goose starting to build a nest just off the pathway.
At Fort White Alive, Barrett Miller says humans and geese can peacefully coexist if you know how to talk to them.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine.
Miller has a technique for calming down worked up geese, protecting their nests.
So I've made eye contact. My finger is pointing at her beak. It reminds them, actually, of Mother Goose. Yeah, you're good, bud. I'm just picking up the garbage.
He says geese usually aren't thrilled to be near us either, but have no choice.
Most of the good real estate is occupied, and their numbers aren't going down, they're still going up, so they have to go somewhere. So you end up with parking lot geese, planter geese, rooftop geese.
Miller encourages homeowners to let lawns grow up, giving predators a safer way to hunt for eggs, and says sometimes our feathered friends just aren't great neighbors.
In any species, there are some that are just way more aggressive and way less understanding of others. There are those geese out there for whom it's not going to work.
Luckily for the geese at Fort White Alive, there's plenty of room for everyone, even noisy neighbors. Emily Brass, CBC News, Winnipeg.
So 298 Charles Street was one of the boarding homes that our family purchased when they came to Canada from the USA.
Judy Williams' family moved to Winnipeg in 1905.
They knew there were jobs at Eaton's, they heard, and the new Cadillac house was being built. They knew there were jobs on the railroad, and so they thought they settled in Winnipeg. They did have some money.
The family opened 2 boarding homes in the North End, and they offered black people a place to stay in Winnipeg at a time when they weren't allowed at hotels. Many of the boarders were railway porters, like her grandfather, Ernest Brown. He was an exalted leader of the Elks and had ties to one of Canada's first unions.
Very often you see them parading kind of like you would see the Shriners Parade. They had the fez. They had the purple fez, yes. He was known to be a really good cook, and he'd cook up a storm for the boarders who lived here as well.
These are some of the albums that my mother carefully put together.
Photos from Williams' family albums are on display at the Manitoba Museum for Black History Month. Many of them were taken by her grandmother, Beatrice Brown.
The Railway Porters Band Picnic.
The pictures give us a view of Winnipeg's early Black history, something Williams wishes was more widely known.
We've been here for a long time, and so when you ask us where we're born, it can be offensive. It's because a lot of us were born here.
And not only from here, but key to building the Winnipeg of today.
Exactly.
And you're here right by my side.
Williams is well known for organizing Jerry Fest in honor of her late brother, Jerry Atwell. But her family's been a big part of the community for well over a century.
They have some money that had come through the family in the form of diamonds. And kind of a bittersweet story. My great-great-great-grandmother was an enslaved woman, and her name was known to us as Black Beauty. Her enslaver loved her, and he freed her 3 children a couple of years before emancipation and gave them some diamonds, and they went off on their own at 12, 13, and 14 to the northern states. They worked in servitude positions until they made it to Canada.
Those diamonds bought the family's boarding homes in Winnipeg. That's where Williams' mother grew up and made her own mark on history.
She went to University of Manitoba and graduated with a degree in pharmacy in 1948. 29 male students, 5 women were in her class, and she's known as the first Black person to graduate from the University of Manitoba in pharmacy.
Her mom met Judy's dad, George Atwell, at the boarding house.
He came to Canada from Trinidad. He was told to stay at the Browns boarding house. They were a good family. My mom always describes it as someone tall, dark, and handsome showing up at the door of her place.
A lot of Black students stayed with the Browns since university residences were white only.
Must not have been easy. I bet there were some challenges.
I know there would have been challenges for my mother. When it came time for her apprenticeship, she couldn't find one. But my grandmother, her mother Beatrice, because she had the connection with the church, and she was able to get a placement for my mother at the St. Boswell Hospital. So that worked out really well. The same kind of thing happened to my father when it came to his work practicum when he was finishing education. He ended up finding a position in a small little town that doesn't even exist anymore called Reedy Creek. He ended up at a one-room schoolhouse he taught at. He loved it. It was his favorite job of all times.
Her father was also a lieutenant commander at HCMS Chippewa, one of its highest-ranking Black reservists.
And that difficulty of finding an apprenticeship or a practicum, is that because of the race barrier, because they were Black?
Definitely it was. It was at the time. Seeing my parents in the role of teacher, in the role of pharmacist, was life-changing for some people. Like seeing the pharmacist that serves you at the counter, that asks you questions about yourself, and then fills your prescription, and then also having a teacher that you can identify with, for sure. It's very important.
Thanks so much for sharing
You're
your
welcome.
story, Judy.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Canadians throw about 85% of their used clothes into the landfill, generating about 1.1 billion kilos of textile waste every year. That makes the fashion industry one of the biggest polluters on the planet. A lot of that is because of fast fashion, cheap, trendy clothing, often worn only a handful of times. Some students in Winnipeg have designs on minimizing some of that waste.
We just dump it into the oceans and other countries, and there's just so much waste in the world.
The students are upcycling, turning old garments into fresh new looks.
So I filled up a bunch of bags of old winter sweaters that were like stretched out and kind of stained, and I cut them up to make this patchwork dress that is still kind of in the work in progress.
Never, ever, ever be basic for nobody.
Their teacher, Michelle Maynard, has her own sustainable fashion brand.
Creatively, when you upcycle something, you really have to use your design brain and figure out, how to make something look good. Maybe something had holes in it or it was trash, and you really have to turn it into something that's wearable or commercially viable. This jacket.
She took it a step further and had the students enter a nationwide upcycling challenge for course credit.
It's just important for them to know wherever they go in the future, it doesn't matter where they're going to be working, sustainability is going to be a part of what they have to do.
One student turned a used vinyl purse into a striking two-piece outfit.
When I was at the thrift store, I just saw this bag that had a cool cutout, and the idea came.
Another student turned a traditional Ethiopian gown into a sporty new look.
Upcycling is good because, you know, in our closet, every closet we have old clothes, like we throw it or we keep it long time instead of like reusing it.
The winners of the Upcycling Challenge will be announced during Fashion Revolution Week, which starts on Earth Day.
This is a 60s inspired coat.
Win or lose, Lee says upcycled fashion has already paid off for her.
Growing up, I was considered a little kooky, out of the box, and you know, over time I've developed a sense of style that's a little bit, you know, colorful and fun. And it just helped me be more comfortable with myself, and I just hope one day I can do that for somebody else too.
Emily Brass, CBC News, Winnipeg.
I'm so pleased that he's getting a chance to go into the C5 Hall of Fame for 5-pin bowling.
I was very excited to be recognized because I put 4 years of my life on a bowling 5-pin.
Makes me very happy to know that he's going to be in there for all the time so everyone else can see what a great player he was in his generation.
It's from Thompson, Manitoba. He's just one solid, steady performer. To Virgilio. He said yes when the ball was halfway down the lane.
I watched him do a roll-off once where he threw 18 strikes in a row over 2 games. I remember it to this day how incredible it was just to see that. Very rare. When he was at the top of his game, he was, like I said, arguably the best in Canada for a period.